What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Refiner Reviews, Episode 4. I'm Cameron Smith.
I'm Austin Smith, baby.
And we're back. We're back for more. We're back for a very special episode.
A classic.
Some would say possibly the best film ever made. I've seen that online. And if you can't guess what it is already by this ridiculous shit we have on, then you know what? Fuck you. You shouldn't be watching this podcast.
You should be able to tell by the hobo hat.
This is not the hobo hat.
It looks
It looks like it right now. You look like you look like a cat.
I'm just a little orphan girl.
Oh God, don't do that.
I don't know what I am.
Well, this is once again, this is Refiner Reviews, brought to you by Refiner Productions, which is our video and photo production company that we run. The part of the business that actually makes money. Sometimes.
When people want to pay.
But yeah, man, let's jump into what one this is. So for those of you who don't, you might recognize this little song.
Will they now? We may get copyrighted for this.
Probably.
But we don't care. We sending it. Indy Jones. And the Raiders of the Lost Ark, dog.
The first of
Classic.
4. The best one?
A legend.
Legendary.
I don't know, the third one's pretty dang good.
Yeah, Crusade's good, man, but we'll get into it. But anyway, so we are reviewing Raiders of the Lost Ark, which, if you haven't seen it, fucking go see it. Sit down, get it rented up on Amazon, okay? Fucking bust out some popcorn and some red vines.
For free. It's been out forever.
I don't care what you do. Go see it.
Years.
Okay? Go see it. Turn it on. Because it needs to be done. That's all I'm saying. So,
I completely agree.
Anyway, so this film came out in 1981. Fuck, man.
Opening
right
weekend was
beginning of the
June
80s.
14th, 1981.
Blast from the past, man. I wasn't going to be born for another 10 years.
And this film was made for $18 million, and it made $389 million.
You hear that? That's the sound of a fucking blockbuster, y'all.
In the 80s.
It's a big deal, dude. This movie was a big deal. And it should be a big deal, man. Like, it's kind of funny because going back and watching it again and, like, going over it with a fine scalpel, having watched it probably hundreds of times as a kid.
I don't even know. I couldn't even put it. I've probably seen Batman Begins and Lord of the Rings more, though.
Maybe you have, but I haven't. I've watched this movie a lot of
I've
times.
seen Indiana Jones a decent amount.
I've seen it a lot. I went through a phase.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're dressed like
That's
him.
where this hat came from.
Hobo Indy Jones.
We got this, actually, Austin and I went to Disneyland with our dad and our family. And we actually rode that ride, like, I think,
A million times.
1,000 times, dude. It was great. We were running around. It was a great ride in Disneyland. If you haven't gone to the Indiana Jones ride, go do it.
Well, the best part of that ride is when I think it was the first time we went on it. There's a guy, he's like, jump, Indy! He's like hanging onto the
The
rope.
animatronic, yeah.
And I was just laughing.
It was great, man.
I love that ride.
It was a great experience.
Well, we recently went to Disneyland just last year.
Oh, did you go ride it?
Yeah, of
Again?
course. I rode
How
it like
was it?
3 or 4 times. It was great.
Was it? Was it
It's
just
a
as good as you
classic
remembered?
ride. Yeah. It's great.
Really? Is it still that good?
I wanted to buy a hat.
Why didn't you get one?
Because it's money. This stuff, dude, everything in Disneyland is like super expensive.
And to be honest, fuck Disney.
We paid out the
Just,
butt
just for the record.
for food. Their food is good, though.
Their food may be great, but they're a bunch of fucking
Dude, the turkey leg.
communist fucks,
The
dude.
turkey leg is so delicious. I just...
Stop. Free. Okay, let's get into this.
good.
Let's get into this.
Okay.
Okay, so Raiders of the Lost Ark. So the premise of this is an archaeologist, Indiana Jones, going to recover the Lost Ark of the Covenant. That's it. Turn me down because I'm too loud? I'm blowing your ears out?
A little bit.
All
But
right.
anyways, yeah.
That's it. That's the premise. An archaeologist in the 1930s is racing to find the Lost Ark of the Covenant. Now, the Lost Ark
Against Hitler.
against Nazis, which is the
Yeah.
best bad guys.
That's great, yeah.
It doesn't get much
Perfect
better
bad
than
guys.
that.
Can't...
But so that's the premise of this film. It's a classic, man. I mean,
So let's run in through some of the interesting, one thing that I didn't know until we watched behind the scenes before we watched
interesting
the film.
facts, yeah.
Yeah, it was I didn't know Spielberg was with this film, I got to come under budget and I got to get it done quickly. I can't go over the days for shooting. And now knowing that he was trying to rush this film and get it under budget and get it all done, and then the way it turned out, I'm kind of amazed how well and how quickly he was able to do that. Because I know with Jaws, he was
He was
Way over budget.
way over budget, and way overshoot. I can't remember how many months over, but like literally, they thought that was the end of his career.
Yeah.
People were saying this is the end of Steven Spielberg. He's never going to work again.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
And then for him to come in and do Indiana Jones with George Lucas, and then they're basically rushing it the entire time.
Right. They're just trying to keep it under budget. Yeah, just trying to get it done. Yeah, no, you're
and
right.
then for it to be this good was crazy.
It's impressive. I mean, I want to make sure I'm close enough to the mic here. But no, it is because, it's not easy to make a movie. I mean, not that we've made any feature films, but
We already know how scary it looks.
it looks terrifying.
Just from doing production for a two-man team for local companies and understanding that we're doing is
the jobs of 10 people with 2 guys.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's a lot of work, man. A lot goes
Yeah.
into a movie, and a lot of unseen work goes into a movie.
Yeah.
All you see is what's up on the screen. You don't see all the guys with the lights and the grips and the videographers and the cameraman and the DP who's just taking care of lighting. I mean, there's so many things.
The set dresser, the
Yeah.
guy does the makeup, the guy gets all the clothes for the
Right.
acting people. Like
It's crazy.
so much work.
So let's just jump into this. You said you want some interesting facts?
Yeah, you got a ton. You ready to go?
Well,
or we
I
can
was gonna
just run
say-
them over while we hit that point.
What do you mean?
Like the part with the boulder where I guess Indy outran
Yeah, I guess we
the
could do that
boulder.
too. Some interesting facts about this movie is in the casting, we almost had Tom Selleck as Indiana Jones.
Oh, jeez.
Which is crazy because, the mustache, which I think he would have actually done a decent Indiana Jones, but he's Harrison Ford. How do you beat Harrison?
You can't.
He is Indiana Jones.
Yeah, they had a ton of guys that they were.
Looking at, probably.
Yeah.
But they almost had Selleck. Like, they literally were going to put him on. Like, before Ford, like, he came into a screen test. You can probably look it up and put it in
They considered
put it in the
David
video.
Hasselhoff, too.
Fuck, thank God. Thank God they didn't do that. So, yeah, man, it's just kind of crazy what could have been. But thank God it turned out the way it did because it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I've done quite a bit of talking now. I'm going to let you take us through the
Oh, you're
beginning.
going to be all...
I'm not all whatever. I'm going to let you go, dude. You brought.
I was joking.
I know.
I
it's
was
all right.
joking.
It's fine. Take it. Take us away.
No, this is one of your favorite films.
It
man.
is. It's
I'm
definitely
gonna
has
let
a.
you riff. I'm gonna let you riff.
I'll riff when you take me to where I need to riff.
Well, I guess let's just start with the intro then.
Give us the opening.
The intros, it's really well done. The one thing that I picked from it that I really liked is they didn't show Indy's face until a very crucial part of the intro.
Right.
They kept just doing shadows, wandering through the forest or the jungle,
It's okay. Same
rainforest, whatever.
Fucking trees.
A bunch of
trees,
trees
monkeys.
everywhere, yeah. And he's trying to find this cave.
Yeah. It's in South America.
Yeah. And while they're going, one of the little dudes he has with him finds a little poison dart in the tree. He's like, oh, poisonous, the mojitos, or whatever. What are they called?
A mojito is a beverage.
Mojito.
I don't know. Maybe they were called. I can't remember what the name of them are. Name
It's
of the tribe,
something like
but
that.
a local tribe that's basically tracking them.
Yeah, and so then the guys are getting nervous, and he pulls a gun out on Indy, and then finally you see Indy's face. He flips around, hits him with the whip, drops the
Classic.
gun, and then Indy comes walking in, and it's just like a classic scene.
It's very. It
Yeah.
sets the tone. Hey, don't mess with this guy.
He knows what he's doing. He's got a whip.
We don't know what the fuck that's all about. When you actually think about it, what the fuck are you doing with a whip? No one knows.
Well, it makes sense later.
Maybe it's some kind of weird sexual thing. We don't know. But anyway, yeah. So he does that. They get up to the. They find the cave, and he mentions that some other guy cashed in there, which was more cortisol or something. Not cortisol. Cortisol is what's in your brain.
Another archaeologist.
Another archaeologist who died, and he goes in. Funny enough, the guy who's with him is Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. Same actor.
He's just a little chubby in this.
It's a little fat dude. And he goes in with him, and they find the dead guy with some spikes sticking out of the wall, one of the booby traps. They start to go through all these booby traps, and that is another setup, right? Something that was really great about this movie that me and Austin really realized, and that I think really hit me watching it this time around, was the amount of setups and payoffs that are in this movie, and how they're so well put in that you don't even notice they're there. And when I say... So the nature of a setup and a payoff in a story is I'm going to set something up in the story, and then I'm going to pay it off
later down the road.
It's going to resolve. It's going to lead to something. And that makes a good story. A lot of those put together in the right place and doing it in a way that's not like right in your face and like hitting you in the face with it. There's an art to it.
Yeah.
And these guys, they killed it with this movie. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I don't even think we'll be able to name all of them.
No, I mean, the first one right here is they walk and they find this dead archaeologist who already got hit by a booby trap, and that is a setup for a payoff that comes later.
Yeah.
So they go on up to the room, the little golden monkey heads there, whatever the fuck that thing is, little fucking Amazon dildo. I don't know what the fuck it is. Got these eyes that are looking at you, like looking at you while you're doing your thing. Yo, we've decided this podcast is explicit, so if you don't want to hear some fucked up shit,
I can't bleep all the F words coming from Cameron. I just can't do it. It's way too much work.
He's given up. So
I did it on the first one on Tenet, and it's funny because Roger is like, you missed a couple F words, and I'm like, well, of course I did, man. And you kept it mild on that one. The second one on Mortal Kombat, dude, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this.
Sorry, guys. So heads up, this is a explicit podcast. Grandpa,
I'm sorry.
Dad, anyone who wants, don't listen to this if you are going to get offended, because your ears might start to bleed. I would never talk this way in front of you, but I'm not going to sit here and fucking censor myself. Sorry.
You put that. Okay, that's fine.
So moving on, just so you know. So they find the golden idol. There's a classic scene where Indy's trying to kind of, that's
been recreated a million times.
And yeah, it has. And it's a great scene where he is trying to swap the idol and the other guys watch him and he's like getting all stressed out.
He's doing the same thing as Indy.
And he has a bag of sand. He needs to place it where the idol is so that the weight stays even, because if the weight's off, then all the shit's going to start going.
Yeah.
All the booby traps are going to set off. And of course, the booby traps are set off. He's just hauling balls through the court. This little like, almost like a, I don't know.
Kind of like a throne room.
Kind of like a throne room.
And it would be an
And they're
idol
shooting
room,
all these fucking
darts
past him, and he's a runner. It's great, man. It's just great. It's so well done.
Yeah, I mean, it takes off really quick, gets you right into the action.
Hooks you.
You're right in, yeah. And so he's running out. He gets to the point to where he pulled out his whip and they swung across.
Yeah.
Homeboy's already on the other side. He's like, throw me the idol. I will throw you the whip.
Yeah, right, because the whip ends up on the one side with fuckface.
Yeah, Doc Ock.
And Indy's like, give me the whip, and he's like, throw me the idol.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a classic, like, you know. He's getting totally double-crossed.
Yep, he throws him the idol and gets screwed. He drops the whip, and what's he say?
He goes,
trying to remember what he says.
what the fuck does he say? Adios, senor.
Yeah, something like that. And then he leaves. Indy does a mega jump across the huge
Open
hole.
space.
Yep. And he's
Survives.
pulls himself up and then rolls underneath through the door and grabs
Classic,
his whip.
the hat falls.
Well, that wasn't on.
The hat doesn't fall?
That's a different one. Yeah, that
My
was.
bad. That's
it was his
the
whip.
only okay,
He
you're right.
grabs
Yeah,
his whip.
brings it through.
Yep. And then as soon
And
as
then,
he gets
and
through
then
there,
then the payoff comes where we see that fuckface is ran into the same.
Doc, just call him Doc Ock.
It's ran into the same booby trap right through him. So we set that all up, and that's a payoff, man. That's a great payoff. Once again, everything that's in a movie should be there for a reason. If it's not there for a reason and it doesn't tie into something else, it's a waste of time. And that's something that I think people don't realize. Like the art in putting together a good screenplay and a good story is that everything interconnects and bounces and plays off each other. Nothing's in there that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And you can tell when you watch a movie that does have a bunch of that shit in there because it feels empty.
Yeah,
it
because
feels weird.
It never pays off.
Yeah, and that's a subconscious thing. You may subconsciously you won't pick up on that. You'll just be like, "Man, this wasn't a very good movie," and you won't know why.
Yeah.
Same with when it's a good movie. You're like, "That was really good," but you may not know consciously. It's because there were all these things that were, your brain was expecting
Yeah.
to see fulfilled that were never fulfilled. But anyway,
So
moving on.
He starts running. Boulder starts coming after him.
Another classic scene.
Yeah, and I guess they were actually thinking about not even having this scene in the film, but this became such an iconic thing. It's funny that they thought that, oh yeah, let's just cut this out of the movie. And I guess Indy outran the boulder.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, they had to do it a couple times. But then
Run slower. Run slower,
let it
bro.
run you over.
Come on, like make us scared.
Yeah, so anyways, then he gets out, he's out of the cave, and then he's met by his good friend.
Belloc, who's this fucking snooty, stick up his ass, fucking Frenchman.
Yeah, they picked a great actor for him too.
And he does a great job, yeah. And he basically steals the idol. He has all the homeboys with him. And all the gangsters out there in the jungle.
And their thongs.
And their thongs and their man
Getting
thongs.
on like
Looking good,
Donkey
dude.
Kong.
Looking good. Some real good ass cheek in this part. Ladies, this is a scene you're going to enjoy. And then he basically tells him to ice Indy. He takes the idol from him and goes, once again, and you get the sense, hey, these guys have known each other before.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, once again, you cannot possess anything that I don't, I'm going to take. Basically, I'm going to get whatever you take, Indy.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Thanks for doing all the work.
You picked the wrong friends, right?
Yeah.
And then they're chasing him through the jungle because he's like, kill him. And then Indy's running, and they're all chasing after him, throwing spears, shooting arrows. We see that he has a guy who obviously brought him here on a plane, a biplane that's sitting in the ocean.
He's just
Just
fishing.
just hanging out. And then he sees Indy coming through the trees like, oh, Jock, start the blade up, Jock.
Yeah, and this you get the great butt shots of the thongs just running.
Austin
through
really
the
enjoyed
fields.
the booty, the
was
jungle
great.
booty.
Great man, Donkey
Male
Kong booty.
But anyway, so he goes running through, jumps on the plane, escapes in the nick of time. They go flying off. It's a great scene. And then we also have another scene, which is a great setup, which is this pilot apparently just likes to fucking roll with pythons in his plane. I don't know.
Yeah,
People got weird things in this movie. I don't know what they're into, whatever.
Indy's freaking out about the snake. He's like, Jock, I hate snakes.
It's a big snake. There's a big snake in the plane, Jock.
Yeah.
It's a classic scene. So we establish, he doesn't like snakes. However, he doesn't mind tarantulas because when they're going through the cave, he wipes a shit ton of tarantulas off Doc Ock.
Yeah, and he's totally like,
yeah, no big deal. Cool, man.
Yeah.
You should just let him fucking eat him. Looking back,
Yeah.
because the guy was just kind of a dick. But anyway, so from there,
Now we're back in the classroom. We find out that Indiana Jones is a teacher.
Right.
Or a professor, right?
same thing.
Yeah, so he's teaching a class, and there's a lot of little good things in this
One
whole
of the students has "I love you" on her eyelids.
Yeah,
She's
she's
hitting
sitting
on
there
him
blinking
because
at
he's
him.
hot,
Yeah,
and he's like, "What the fuck? You want to fuck right now?"
it totally throws him off. And then this is where we get introduced to
Marcus,
comes walking into the class.
who is kind of almost like a fatherly mentor, kind of a figure
Yeah,
to Indy.
kind of like an uncle, I guess.
Almost, yeah,
In a
like
way,
like
yeah.
like an older gentleman who's taking care of him.
Yeah,
And Marcus is great, man. He's a great actor. He's a great character. And he tells them that there's some men from the State Department that want to talk to Indy about something. And Indy is like, why the fuck do I want to talk to them? That's what he says. Well, I mean, he doesn't say it like that.
but yeah, and then from there we go to where he's meeting with the State Department guys, and they're asking Indy and Marcus about the Ark and the Covenant.
Well, they're actually asking him about
Oh yeah, what's his
Ravenwood.
name? Ravenwood.
who was basically, we find out, is Indy's mentor who taught him archaeology in Chicago,
Yeah,
I
it's
guess.
his
It was his
mentor.
teacher, his
Yeah.
mentor. And apparently, this is where like Austin says, where they go, well, yeah, the Nazis are looking for the Ark of the Covenant. What the fuck is even the Ark of the Covenant? And then, we have a bunch of great lines here. Didn't either of you guys ever go to Sunday school?
Yeah.
And it's a great scene. It's a great scene of exposition where they set up what the fuck this movie's about, what we're going to be dealing with, and they do it in a
do it
entertaining
quick.
way
Yeah,
and
they
in
do-
a quick way.
Yeah.
It's not like Tenet where it goes on for fucking an hour.
Back to 10.
I'm sorry, dude. It's in the living infamy.
Yeah.
Fuck that movie. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah, they do a great job. It's a perfect
Yeah.
example of how they properly set up exposition and set up a scene, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion. I don't know how you felt about it.
No, yeah, I agree. This movie has a very good balance of talking and action. Like they keep you
Right.
entertained really well. And the pace is great too, because it's
Yeah.
not a long movie and
No.
it moves quick. And it doesn't feel too quick. It feels like everything's in the right.
Yeah. No, and the acting's just on point. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
All the
it's a
dialogue,
great
too.
movie. The dialogue's fantastic.
Yeah.
There's no wasted lines.
No,
Every line,
definitely not.
and that's the thing. Once again, dude, a good movie, a good film, it's very lean. There's no fat, dude. Everything that's in there is in there for a reason. From the lines to the shots to the moments, to the things that happen, the characters. It really is an art form, man. Like it's
Yeah.
not,
Well, from there, after they discuss that Hitler's looking for the Ark,
Right.
they're looking for Ravenwood because I guess he has a piece
that they need.
to find where the Ark is. And then it cuts to Indy. He's at home.
And
He's in a bathrobe, and then Marcus is there saying, "Hey, they want you to go for it."
right. And then and he's like, fuck yeah, like I'm down. Let's do this thing, because as he says, this is everything that we got into archaeology for.
Yeah,
So he's super stoked. Something that I bring up actually now, I think I must bring it up now. Something really cool about this movie too, and this is another thing where you have a master of his craft. John Williams does the score for this movie. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with John Williams, he's probably the greatest film composer of all time, like before Hans Zimmer. I know
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer, a bunch of you probably have boners out there for him. I'm not saying Hans Zimmer isn't great because he's fantastic.
yeah, he's great.
Part of the reason I think Tenet wasn't that good was because Hans Zimmer wasn't there. But in this movie, you got John Williams, and the thing that John Williams does that makes him so fucking great when it comes to music is the motifs and the themes that he interweaves in the score. Each thing in the story or character has its own theme.
Yeah.
And it's great. And in this, and in the beginning, even like in of course, like we played the Indiana Jones theme, right? That's Indy's theme. But even beyond that, right? Like that's a great theme. But then you have like the Ark has its own theme.
Every time they bring up the
Ark, there's
the
a
Ark
theme.
is cued. Yeah, the music's played.
And you hear that when they first bring up the Ark at the school, and you hear it in this scene too when Brody's like, you know, be careful, basically, like, you know.
Yeah, this is like nothing we've ever gone after.
Right, this is like something else.
Yeah.
And Indy's like, I'm not afraid of some hocus pocus mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, and you kind of discover that Indy, because like while they were talking to the guys from the state or whatever, he was also saying, if you believe in that sort of thing. Basically,
right, he's
saying
skeptic.
He doesn't really believe in God and all this mumbo jumbo.
Right.
Like,
which is a great reveal for his character as well.
Yeah.
Right? He's chasing something that he doesn't even... He thinks it's just an artifact. He doesn't believe in its supernatural abilities.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Like, it reveals character.
Yeah.
So, but that's a great thing about this movie, though. You have those themes that are interwoven, right? Like those musical themes, and they're a big deal because it's subconscious, but it adds to the movie. You wouldn't even realize it. And something that's also something that I noticed this time watching it that I'd never noticed before.
How much that adds.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Marion has a theme.
Marion has her own theme who will be introduced in the next scene.
Yeah. And Indy has his own, like, little...
He has his own theme. They all do. And the Ark has its own theme.
Yeah.
So it's really, I mean, it's just cool, man.
It's well placed, and yeah.
And you'll notice that in a lot of John Williams' like, to put it in perspective, John Williams is the guy who gave you Star Wars, okay, the music in Star Wars, Jaws, E.T., I mean, he did the Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah, we need to do E.T., that's a...
Yeah, I like that one. Jocko hated it, but I liked it.
It's because there's an alien in it.
He just didn't like it, bro. But anyway, hey, this is not about E.T., but anyway, he's a great composer, and he really adds to it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a real skill in it, and it's in that, I think, I'm not a music guy, but, like, the way in which he interweaves the themes.
Yeah,
because he just adds more to the story. Because it's a story. It's part of storytelling.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on.
So from there, Indy's going to get on a plane, and he's going to Nepal. And this had like a pretty cool little transition on a map where it's like showing him flying in the plane. And
while it's a classic Indiana Jones thing.
Yeah, and they did it in all the other movies, didn't they?
Showing the course of his flight from city to city and then arriving in Nepal.
But while he's getting on the plane, there's another thing I missed. There's someone mysterious that is following him, getting on the plane with him, going to Nepal with him.
It's obviously a Nazi.
And so
tell.
This next scene is... It's really well done. Another great exposition scene. So this is one thing that we've been definitely focusing on with this film is like the creation of introducing a new character and showing who this character is within the first couple of minutes that they're introduced. So it cuts to Marion. We don't know her name yet, but she's playing a drinking game with this big fat guy. It's got big old fat Shrek sausage hands.
Yeah, he does. Got
big
some
old
pudgy hands, yeah.
So yeah, they're playing a drinking game where they each take a shot and they're trying to see who can hold their liquor better.
Right.
And Marion wins and beats this heavyweight out.
Right. I mean, it's a great scene, like the way that he does it. Like you see him, like it looks like he's smiling, like he's won. Then he fucking just falls into the crowd, and they're all like, "Oh!" And everyone's betting money on it, and Marion wins.
Yeah. So like this, a setup for a character like this tells you that Marion can hold her own.
Yeah, she's independent.
And she can drink a lot of liquor. She's got a great tolerance, I guess.
Right.
And then also she kind of runs her own bar. Like she's an independent woman that can handle her own thing.
She's a strong, independent female.
To put it in a PC way for 2021.
Well, but that's the thing though, right? Like it's a great character.
Yeah.
That's part of
her
character.
setup, and it was like you didn't need to have her explain all of that.
Showed
like,
you
it's
all of it.
Shown, yeah.
It's a great. I mean, that's the thing. That's another part of good storytelling.
And her music,
your character,
and her
theme.
Music
Marion has her theme that comes in. And it's so well done, dude. It really is. So from there, she's closing up shop for the night, collecting all of her money she won on this bet for the drinking game, and then Indy shows up, and now we see the dynamic between the two of these guys, and it seems like at first she's like, Indiana Jones, and when he shows up as silhouettes on the wall, it's a really cool Casablanca kind of approach to like introduce him.
Yeah, and
lighting's cool.
Well, they do that with Indy. They do the silhouette thing.
Right, it's kind of a theme.
Yeah, it's his thing.
But it's great. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It is. I'm sorry. It's just cool. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how corny or old it is. It's just the way it's good filmmaking. But he comes in, and immediately Marion just fucking punches him. I want to say bitch slap, but that's not honest enough. She fucking
She
clocks
decks
him, dude, right in the face. Talks about how she's learned to hate him over the last 10 years. You immediately realize that she does not like Indy.
Yeah, and something in the past between these two
them.
happened. Yeah,
and he's, hey, I'm here to find the peace that your father has. Is your dad here? And she goes, well, you find out Abner Ravenwood, her dad's dead.
yeah,
So that's, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and she's like, oh yeah, everybody's sorry for something. The conflict is really great between the two characters because it's not as simple as, oh hey, I love you, it's been a long time. It's like, no, fuck you, you really fucked me over,
yeah,
and I don't like you, and what the fuck are you doing here? And that's just one more obstacle Indy has to get over as a character to get the peace he needs to find the arc.
yeah.
It's great. It's a
Good conflict.
Great.
Yeah,
It's a great dynamic. So she basically kind of plays him a little bit and goes, hey, I don't have it here. Come back tomorrow. He gives her some of the money, and she goes to hit him again, and he stops her.
yeah.
It's just another great little subtle thing, it's just great, man. Those
Yeah,
little things add in.
She's really upset.
She does not
her
like
character.
him.
Yeah, is really upset with him.
And so he leaves, pieces out, and then Austin's favorite character shows up.
Yeah. Hello, Fraulein. Yeah, he's what's his freaking name?
I don't even know.
I can't even remember.
I don't
his
even
name.
know. He looks like a fucking toad.
Anyways, Toad German boy shows up with glasses, and he's asking for the piece too. So right after Indy leaves, these guys all show up.
Right.
And Marion's like, oh, interesting. I had someone else here that was... well, they know that Dr. Jones was there trying to get the piece, and he's like, we'll pay handsomely for it.
Right.
Sure.
I hope he has not acquired it. Your fire is dying.
For your sake. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a great character, though.
He is. No, he is. He's he kills it, man. He kills it. So Marion's holding her own. She's like, fuck you. This is my place. Don't fucking rock up in here like you think you're all great, Air Mac.
Yeah.
That's what she calls him. And she goes, I don't know what kind of people you're used to dealing with, but go fuck yourself, basically.
Yeah, this is my bar.
Yeah. And he's like, let me show you what I'm used to dealing with. Bring them over. Yeah. And then they bring her over, and he's been fucking with the fire. And it's like, he's going to burn her nipples off, dude. I don't know what the fuck he's going to do. He's got a big old irons heated up, hot as balls. And it's like, he's about to give her a fucking titty twister with those prongs. It's just going to rip it right off, melt it off.
And then just in the nick of time, Indy comes in.
He does. He shows up. Oh, yeah, with the whip.
Yeah, whips that bad boy right out of his hand.
Out of his hand.
Yep.
Great moment, man. Great scene.
And then the firefight starts, and they all start shooting everything.
And dude, for being a movie from 1981, dude, it's pretty gory. He shoots this one guy right in the face, and it's blood everywhere.
Yeah,
and he's lit on fire. He's like, oh! I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
I remember as a kid thinking, dude, this is really violent.
Yeah, oh, that's kind of freaky.
Yeah, well, holy shit. But great scene, dude. Just a great little action sequence. There's the bar gets lit on fire because when he whips that thing away, it starts the curtain on fire and starts the entire bar on fire.
Yeah,
Marion's running around behind the bar trying to help Indy and on her way drinking from the bullet holes that are pouring alcohol out of the kegs and stuff.
Yeah,
Indy gets shot in the arm. That's something too that's great about Indy as a character. He's always getting his ass kicked.
Yeah,
which makes him a great hero too. He's not like this invincible superhero. He's getting shot. He got shot in the arm in this part. Freaking throughout the movie, he's getting his ass kicked. It makes him relatable.
Did he get shot in the arm in this
He
part?
does, yeah. It's that part where he's reloading the 1911. He gets shot right here in the shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
They don't really play it up after that. But, yeah, he gets shot right there.
Anyways, they're fighting. Marion helps out, and Indy's asking for whiskey. It's like, whiskey.
Right.
She hands him the whiskey bottle, hits the guy in the head. And they end up fighting everyone off. The bar gets burnt down. And Marion is holding the... Well, another part happens. Our little Snell...
Oh, shit, yeah.
German boy.
And this is another setup. Another great setup. That's a great payoff later on.
So the German guy's going to reach because he sees the medallion. He grabs it, but it's so hot it burns his hand, so he takes off running into the snow.
And this is the medallion that they're looking for.
Yes.
Right? That they need to find the Ark. The whole reason why Indy's there to see Marion, is to get that piece.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he burns his hand because it's been sitting on the fire. And so he's like, ah! He's melts into his hand, and he lets it go. And then he runs out into the snow.
Yep. And then Indy and Marion are out there, and Marion's like, well, you got more what you asked for. I'm your partner now.
I'm your goddamn partner.
Yeah.
I'm your goddamn partner.
Yep, and then...
It's like, yes, you are, baby. It's time to make up and have some love.
That's not what happens.
But he's thinking that.
Yeah, next, so from
Because
here,
Dude, Marion's hot. Let's just be honest. She's hot. You got a little butt chin, but that's all right. It's all good.
Cameron is the raider of women on our show.
All you women hate me. Sorry. She is, though. She's hot. Dude. She's fine, independent.
Okay, from there, where do they go?
They go to Egypt, to Cairo, and another great intro to another great character. It's almost funny how good it is.
They just keep doing it, knocking it right out of the park.
Yeah.
They keep it short, keep it sweet.
So the transition to there, it's the same thing. We see that plane flying, the dots connecting, and then they're in Cairo. And you get a great intro from John Rhys Davies, also the guy who played Gimli in one of my favorites, Lord of the Rings, one of our favorites. And Cairo, the city of the living.
That's pretty good.
I don't think he's Russian, though.
He's definitely not Russian.
He's British, but it should be the city of the living. But he's trying to be... Salah is the character that we're introduced to.
And it's a great setup for him, too, because it's him on his rooftop. They're all eating, and you can see he has children. They're playing, they're talking, and Indy's asking about, like, what are the Nazis doing, how long they've been digging and all that stuff. And...
because they're digging there in Egypt. Not to cut you off, because I don't think we even covered this. They told Indy in the meeting...
Yeah.
This is an exposition. The Nazis are in Egypt digging for the Ark already. They just can't find it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, sorry, go ahead.
And then John Williams, once again, the master.
Yeah.
Sala and Indy start talking about the Ark, and then cued, here comes the Ark music.
Yeah, the theme comes
once
in.
again. So, yeah, you had Brody telling him, hey, this is like nothing we've ever gone for. And then you got the same thing. Sala's saying the same thing.
Yeah, Salah's like, what does he say? He goes, and it's another great line where he's like, the Ark... It's been lost for 4,000 years.
Yeah.
It's not something that man was meant to disturb. It's just a great...
Yeah.
It's just a great line, right? It's like that foreboding, and then Indy, fuck it, it's all good.
If you believe in that kind of thing.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's great. And then a monkey shows up.
Yeah, they had the monkey there, I think.
Yeah, it shows up. This monkey shows up, which is, once again, another setup for a great payoff later on in the movie.
Setup, payoff.
And this was a setup that I never even realized was there. Like, I knew it was there, but, like, I wasn't
until
actively
we watched
aware
it
of
time,
it. Like, I knew it happened. Like, and that's, once again,
it's so subtle.
when I point these things out to you, you're going to go, well, yeah, duh. I know you would do it. No, you didn't, okay? No, like, you did, but you weren't consciously aware. Like, you don't realize the guy who wrote this screenplay, who is Lawrence Kasdan, by the way, he actually wrote Empire Strikes Back. I'm trying to, what else? Fatal Attraction, I think. Really great screenwriter, I think, in my opinion. He put these pieces all in there to lead to other things.
Yeah.
So when you just go, no, we do. Well, yeah, you noticed it when you're watching it, but it wasn't like, you don't understand. Like, that piece had to be put in play 30 pages before the payoff.
Yeah.
And there's an art to that.
Oh, yeah. Even though this film is shorter, like, he does it so many times.
Yeah.
And executes. Like, it's like the setup, like, we didn't even talk about this. Marion drinking and playing that drinking game.
We'll get there then. We'll get there. That's a setup.
That's
right.
another setup for later in the film.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. That's a good point, man.
So
there's so many in this movie. That's why it's such a good movie.
Yeah.
Dude.
So from here, Marion and Indy are wandering around shopping,
the streets of Cairo. Oh, an interesting fact. You guys are like, we don't really fucking care. Just get on with the review. Another interesting fact is actually, let me tell you one more thing you don't know. So actually, on that shot up on top of Salah's house, there are a bunch of, actually there are not antennas, but there were, and they had to pull them all down around that whole shot around the town.
Holy cow!
Because they were like, there weren't antennas back in the 1930s. So to make it accurate, they removed all the antennas. Which is kind of cool.
Cow. That's a lot of work.
It was a big job, dude.
Yeah.
But they did it just to kind of add to the,
And it does.
It does.
They didn't have to do any weird CG
something that you would never notice, but they did it because, it's those little things, dude. Those little things in movies. Even though there's a bunch of other shit that's not accurate in this movie, but hey, I'm glad they took those down.
That is true.
So moving on, they're in the streets of Cairo shopping.
Yeah.
Take us, bro.
I'm trying to think.
So from here, the Nazis have been kind of stalking them. They know Indy's here. We kind of see some Tom Cruise-looking motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
Who looks like...
rounding up all their little
up
Egyptian
inside,
homies.
getting ready to
chase them down.
Go get down. And then they get attacked in the streets by a bunch of Arabs. The Nazis really haven't showed up yet. They're sending their Arab henchmen out.
Yeah.
Kind of like Austin with this thing on there.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it shows the monkey running back to the owner.
Yeah, so we see that the monkey actually belongs to this eye patch motherfucker who rides around on a motorcycle, who's obviously working with the Nazis.
Yeah.
Oh, and the monkey does Sieg Heil.
Oh, yeah, that too, yeah.
The little monkey's like, Sieg Heil.
And that took a couple days to get him to do that. And they spent the time to make that work, which is kind of crazy because they're like on a rush. You would think Spielberg would be like,
it's priority.
Nah, we don't need it.
It's a priority.
Let's keep going.
So yeah, that's a great little shot there. And then when they're all fighting, and I don't know if I missed this. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Maybe I was writing when he shoots the swordsman who shows up.
Yeah. What about it?
Well, so that actually was originally going to be a long fighting scene. So it's a classic scene in Indiana Jones where the guy shows up with a sword and he's like, and you're like, oh fuck, and India shoots him.
Yeah.
It's a great scene. It's so classic, but it wasn't written that way.
Yeah.
That's something they came up with on the day, I think.
No, Indy was the one that suggested, why would I have a gun?
Right. Harrison Ford was like, yeah, why would I fight him?
Yeah, why would I just shoot him?
Boom.
Yeah, and
Solved.
they changed that, and it turned that scene into like...
Where did you read that?
Oh, it was online.
Yeah, it's funny, dude.
Yeah.
It's cool, huh?
It was his suggestion.
And it's a classic scene.
Yeah.
It's fucking classic. Big old swordsman shows up, big old baddie, boom, gone.
Yeah, and another payoff, this is probably a smaller one, but like when they're shopping around, you can see everyone's carrying these same types of baskets.
Yeah,
And they're everywhere. And so later on, Marion runs away and gets separated from Indiana Jones because she's getting chased, and she hides in one of those baskets, and the monkey gives her away because the monkey's a butthole.
Yeah, little asshole.
Yeah, a little Nazi monkey.
Little Isaac.
Definitely not. But they find...
I love you, Isaac. Your uncle loves you. I'm just saying
He's
that
not going to listen to
he
these.
can be a butthole sometimes.
But you can't listen to Uncle Cameron say the F word.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
But anyways, they find Marion, they pick her up in the basket. Indy's then chasing them around in the alleyways, and then they get out into the big open area, and everybody has a basket.
It's the exact
Set
same
up,
kind she was hiding in.
And then payoff. Yep. And then so Indy's running around pulling all the baskets down, looking for her.
It's a great scene. It's a great shot. Because you just like see his face, and it does this pull back where you see all these baskets, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Good luck, man.
Yep. And he starts looking.
That bitch is gone.
And he's chasing them. They load her onto a truck. He gets to the point to where he gets to the truck, and they're starting to drive away. He shoots the driver. The truck tips over, blows up, and then he thinks Marion's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the conclusion of that sequence. And then the next shot's a great shot where we see him sitting at a bar just drinking because he's so fucked up about it, right? Like, you get the sense that even though Marion basically insinuates when they meet in the bar in Nepal that Indy basically took advantage of her when she was really young. And Indy's reply is, well, you were old enough, you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I was in love, I was young. And so, but he's fucked up about it, right? He's like, this was a girl that he obviously loved at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe still. And he's drinking, he's pulling a camera, and he's like, I'm going to hit the fucking bar and have a few shots with my monkey.
His Nazi monkey.
With my little Isaac.
With the butthole Nazi monkey.
My little Isaac over here. My little monkey man.
You definitely would not be taking the baby to the bar.
Maybe.
So anyways, no. That's happening. And then this is where we're introduced to our good friend, the other setup.
Yes, so they're in there, and you can... the Nazis, the two guys from before, these two Nazis are dressed up in nice clothes, come out and go, hey, Dr. Jones, we have someone who wants to talk to you. So he gets up and goes in, and we see that Belloc, that fuck, is back in all of his French glory. And he wasn't just a meaningless guy put into the beginning of the movie. Once again, he was set up because he came back. He's the archaeologist that is helping the Nazis, basically.
Yeah.
And they have a great scene together, man.
Yeah, and I can't remember all the dialogue from the scene, but I remember it being, like, while watching it, I'm like, dude, that's just such a great line.
No, the whole scene, the scene's fantastic, man. Like, so Belloc goes, what does he say? There's a couple lines that are just great where he's like...
well, he was comparing Indy to himself.
Well, even before that.
Yeah.
He goes, what does he say? Oh, maybe not. Maybe, you're right. So they start comparing themselves to each other, and, he says, I'm just a shadowy version of you. It would just take a nudge to push you out of the light.
Yeah.
Basically, it's that classic bag, like, hey, you are me. I am you.
Yeah.
You could be me.
And
you're not better than me. You're the same as me.
And this is a setup for later in the film, too.
Yeah. It's just great, man. I mean, it's great, these little subplots that are running throughout the whole movie. And they're talking about, he's talking about the Ark, and he has a great analogy with this watch. He's like, see this? It's just a watch bought from a vendor on the street. But I bury it, leave it alone. It becomes priceless.
10,000 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like the Ark. Men will kill for it. Men like you and me.
Yeah.
And it's just great lines. Then he goes, don't you understand what it is, Jones? it's a direct communication to God. And he's like, you want to talk to God? I haven't got anything better to do. Let's go see him together. Then he stands up. And that's the conclusion of their conversation.
He's about to pull his gun out.
And then we realize all these guys in the whole bar are working for Belloc.
Yep.
They all stand up with guns and surround him. And this is where another payoff comes.
Salah's kids come to the rescue.
They come and grab him and take him out of the bar. And obviously these Arabs aren't going to shoot him because they all know Salah and they aren't going to shoot the kids.
Yeah.
From the neighborhood, right?
And they get loaded up in the truck and go back to Salah's place.
And it's just a great scene, man. It's a great scene.
Oh, yeah.
And another great line. Salah's like, better than United States Marines. It's just great. Just fucking great.
Yeah.
And then from there, we go to the wise man that Salah says that he found that can read the markings on the back of this medallion piece that Indy has that they need to use to find the Ark.
Yeah.
He tells him about Marion. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. That sucks. Let's move on here.
All right. So from there, we're talking to the wise man.
Who has a funny voice. Look, see, these markings on here. That's your penis. No, see, over here. I'm kidding.
I tattooed these markings on me.
On my pee-pee, see? That's a great voice. See, over here.
Come.
Go.
You started it.
Anyway, so it's a great scene, great actor. They're in this little place. It almost has like this Arabian Nights feel to it. You can see like the cityscape outside this back window. And a servant who I'm positive. So from here, this hat's falling off. We have the servants preparing dates for these guys to eat in the small kitchen we see. And I'm almost positive that this actor who's playing the servant is the same small person who plays freaking Frodo's double in Lord of the Rings. I'm almost positive. I didn't look it up, but I'm telling you guys, this is Frodo's stunt double who played his mini self in the Lord of the Rings. But anyway, as he's doing that, we have this hand come in, this nefarious hand, this hand of death. It's carrying some poison that dribbles all over these delicious looking dates. And of course, the servant has no idea. He kind of notices the door opened up, but whatever. Takes the dates out and puts them out there for those guys to eat. And this is where, all of a sudden the wise man, he realizes that he's found something on there where what the markings are saying. Now, funny thing enough is that Salah says that the Nazis also have a similar a medallion of their own. And he's like, how's that possible? There's no copies of this anywhere. How would they get their hands on this? Which is another setup that will have a great payoff coming up in the movie. But the wise man goes, oh, see here, it says this and that. And on the back of the medallion, there's extra shit that I guess the Nazis' medallion doesn't have because they only have one side of it, according to Salah, because he saw it at the dig site where he's working with them. And so basically it says to take back certain measurements, which changed the location of where the Ark is, where the Nazis think it is, which gave them a location which wasn't correct. But Indy and Salah have the actual correct location because they have the measurements. And Austin's back now.
I'm back.
So now we're back together.
Forever.
So,
It's not moving. It's dead.
How'd that happen?
I don't know. It burnt through the juice really quick. We'll just have to worry about it later.
All right. So anyway, the next shot, the next scene is them going to the dig site because they figured out where it is now. So basically, Indy's with Salah. It's a great shot. It's a morning shot. The sun's rising, I think, and they're walking through this dig site where there's hundreds of men working out in the desert. You okay over there?
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
It's a great shot. It's a great shot. And they're running through this work site trying to figure out where the Well of Souls is, which is where the Ark is. But there's a map room that they have to go to first. Where they're going to take that medallion that Indy's been trying to get and stick it down there on a certain length of a staff that should, when the sun hits a right point in the day, show the location of where the Ark is in the city. And so they get up there. Salah drops Indy down in there. He throws up the staff. You have the Ark music's coming in again.
So you already talked about how they have the wrong length of a staff, right?
I did miss something though.
What'd you miss?
Because we're getting all distracted up in here.
Yeah.
The monkey.
God, the monkey, the payoff, the setup and payoff.
It's another great
monkey
setup too. The monkey. Sorry, you guys. We got to go back. We got to go back in time now. We're going to jump back a couple scenes. So when they're in there with the wise man who's telling them all this shit, they go to eat a date, which I told you guys had gotten poisoned. And then Indy goes to eat it. He throws it up in the air because he's like stoked because they figured out what they need to do and that the Nazis had the wrong measurements. And Sallah catches the date in his hand and is like, bad dates. Because we see that the monkey ate the date and died.
Yep.
By the assassin's own hand. His own master poisoned the dates.
Yeah.
And so the monkey died because he ate a bad date, and because of that, Indy didn't eat the dates. So once again, that monkey's payoff, it wasn't just to have a cute monkey in the movie. There literally was a huge payoff right there where, like, he almost died because the monkey was there to eat the poison.
Yeah.
He saw it caught it, and they didn't, it's a great scene. The dates fly up in the air, and he catches it in midair, and is like, bad dates.
Yeah.
It's a great scene. So anyway, sorry to jump back on that. That was a great payoff in this movie as well. Moving forward, now they're back at the dig site. They found the map room, and Sallah's dropping Indy down in there, throws the staff in there, poof, laser beam, shows where it is.
Indy writes down
the coordinates.
Information. Yep. While Sallah's up there, the Nazi's like, "Hey, what are you doing over there?"
Random guy.
Yeah, they kind of like pull him off, and then Sallah comes back and he drops down a makeshift rope that he made out of like blankets and
a flag
and a Nazi flag.
So the swastika hits Indy right in the face. It's a great scene.
And then Indy gets pulled out.
And then they're like, "All right, I know where this is now. Let's go get this shit going."
Yep. And then
Sallah gets the homies, and he's like, "Yo,
they start digging.
It's time to fucking dig."
And then they're digging like holes,
and then
shot of the bus style.
And then they're singing, "Nambe Oskanapaneme, Hamanombe, Hapaletame." I have no idea.
And then Indy takes off his
stuff and
puts on his hat and his jacket, even though it's the desert. It's 1,000,000 degrees.
It's hot in here.
I bet.
And so anyway, so he's up there, the sun's setting. It's another great silhouette shot. And then they find at the point where they start to dust off, they find a spot where they can lift a piece of slab off of the top of the Well of Souls and open it up. And we look down into the Well of Souls. And
then you get a great line from Sallah, and he's like, "Why is the floor moving?"
Right. Because once again, there's another setup and payoff here. There are snakes all over inside the tomb.
Yes.
And
the tomb.
Indy hates in the tomb.
Yeah.
And Indy hates snakes. He goes, "Snakes? Why do it have to be snakes?"
Yep.
And Sallah goes, "Asps, very dangerous. You go first." It's another great line.
Sends him down into
death.
Into death.
He's down there, he's like, "Sallah, get down here!" He's down there like spraying gasoline and lighting fires to get the snakes away from him.
Yeah, they're dropping a bunch.
And
of
when he falls down, when he goes down, he falls down right in front of a king cobra, which rises up and opens its hood, and like it's a great shot. And when they did it, they actually had a piece of glass in between Indy and the real snake.
Yeah,
Harrison and the snake when they shot it, which is just another fucking great shot, man. Because it's real, it's in camera.
It's not no CG
it's not
snake,
some CG
dog.
snake. It's a fucking actual king cobra.
Practical effects.
It's fucking awesome, dude. It's really great.
And then they filled the whole Well of Souls with real snakes and rubber snakes.
Yeah. A mix, but it's great. It's great, man.
It looks legit.
You cannot beat it, dude.
Yeah, it's super immersive and it looks real.
It's cool, man. It's a great scene. It's a great movie. God, it's just a great movie.
Yeah, and so from there, he gets to where the Ark is, and there's a fun little hieroglyph, or what are they called?
Hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics of CP3 and R2D2 behind
you aren't
them on the wall.
I just totally burped into the mic. You aren't gonna notice. You aren't gonna notice that in the movie. By the way, if you're looking for C3PO and R2D2 in the hieroglyphics, you need to stop and zoom in.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool they added that in there in the set design because George Lucas, who helped create Indiana Jones, father of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So that's why they tied that in there.
Yeah, I never knew that either. Until we watched it again.
Well, my film teacher showed us that. Back in high school. It's kind of cool.
That is cool. So they find the Ark. They start getting it ready and pulling it out, and the Ark music's playing the entire time. It's golden. It's glowing. It's beautiful. And they send it up. Sallah goes up, and then once Sallah gets up, Indy's down there, and the rope falls.
And he's like, "Sallah?"
Yep. But before that, it cut back to Bollock or...
Oh, yeah. So there's a little scene going on during this time while Indy's in there. Fuck. We missed that, too. Indy actually finds Marion is alive. She's been held captive. She didn't actually blow up in the truck. And Indy finds her and then goes, before he goes into the tomb.
Yeah.
And he fucking goes, I can't free you right now, man, because, bitch, they're going to know we're here. And then we're all going to be fucked.
Yeah, and this kind of shows a side of Indy.
His character.
Yeah.
Because he, as much as he loves Marion, he really wants to get that Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's like, and she's pissed.
Yeah, it's a great conflict. Like, I was telling Cameron at that moment, I'm like, if that was Allie and that was my wife, oh, that wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, well, see, but this isn't
she would have killed me.
See, yeah, but this isn't an Allie and
I know,
your
but
wife situation. This is some ex-girlfriend.
I know, but still, like, it's kind of a big deal. Like, it shows a lot of character.
No, for sure. When he says, I'm going to come back for you.
Yeah.
So Marion is in this tent, meanwhile. So we established that before he goes in there, because he runs into her, which is another great scene. It's another great little piece that ties in. Because then we go back to Marion with Belloc, and she's with Belloc. Belloc's the one who's been taking care of her.
Yeah.
And he is just a creep, dude. He's just a fucking creep.
Yeah.
He literally just wants to get his little French frog sucked. That's all it is. It's like, you going to France, sucking my French frog.
Oh, put on this dress, Marion.
Yeah, so he has her put on this nice white dress. So he's in there in the tent. So during the time that Indy's in the tomb getting all this shit sorted, we jump cut to Marion, who is being held captive by Belloc.
Yeah.
And Belloc's just trying to get kind of cozy with her. You know, he's like putting on some tunes, setting the fire up. It's like, let's get it on.
He's basically trying to 80s style, like, Netflix and chill, yo.
Yeah, hard, dude. But little does he know Marion's a capable, independent, strong woman. Beautiful woman. And she has her own plan. So she puts on the dress. He's creeping through the mirror. He's like, when they come to get you, I will not be able to protect you unless you show me your titties. It's like, she's just creeping, man. So she comes out, and immediately Marion's like, hey, how about we drink? Which ties into the fact that she can hold her liquor. And she's using that skill, which is a skill for some of you who like to drink. It is a skill to hold your liquor to escape. And she steals a little knife and like hides it in her dress and begins a drinking game like she did when we first were introduced to her character with Belloc.
Yeah.
Until eventually Toadfuck shows up, and Toadfuck's the bad guy, the Gestapo.
Hitler.
And we see that his hand is actually burned, which is once again another fucking great setup and payoff.
Yeah.
When he burned his hand at the Nepal in the bar, it left an imprint of the medallion on his hand.
Yep.
And that's how the Nazis recreated it, so they had their own medallion. But once again, they only had one side of it.
Yep. So they were off and were digging in the wrong spot.
Right, which is just, God, another little piece of the story that's just great. Didn't take a lot of time to establish. Didn't take a bunch of screen time. And it's all shown in images.
Yeah.
From when he burns his hand to when he shows that he has the burn.
Yeah. And it was right at the beginning of the film.
And they didn't need to do that.
No.
Well, I mean, it just ties in so good. It's just so great. So anyway, they show up to the tent where Belloc is trying to swoon Marion. And Marion actually, right before they show up, basically pulls a knife on Belloc and goes, you're very nice and this has been great and on. I know you're trying to rape me, but I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
And then these guys show up and they're like, we're here to interrogate you. And there's this great little thing where the Gestapo Nazis like putting together like a hanger for his coat, but it was like some kind of fucking
torture device,
which I guess Spielberg came up with that by himself. So that'd be a great scene.
Yeah.
Just something that he came up with. And it's a great little gimmick. It's great. So anyway, that all happens.
And they're walking out in the morning and they see that there's these dudes digging over in
Right.
this random place. And
Right.
so all of them rush over.
And that's where
We're back
to where we were at, where Indy is now trapped down there because they threw the rope down there. We look up, Belloc and all the Nazis are up there. And once again, Belloc's just being a fucking douchey Frenchman doing his thing. He's like, Dr. Jones, what are you doing in such a terrible place? And he's just like, fuck, come down here and I'll show you. It's just a classic, just great line. Great lines, dude.
Yeah.
This movie's covered with great lines. Basically, he goes, you're not going to become a permanent addition to this archaeological find. And they're going to shut him in there, and Belloc's like, yeah, man, fuck you. I got what you did all the work. Thanks for doing all the work and getting me what I wanted.
But then the
Nazis.
Nazi guys is like, but we're leaving Marion down there too.
Right, and so they throw her down. Yeah. And she grabs onto one of these, I'm trying to think what god it is.
I can't remember.
There's all these, they're the god of the underworld, Anubis, I think. Well, she lands on one of these statues and hanging on to it, and she's in her dress, looking sexy, is all get out. And, of course, Belloc's pissed because he's like, I was just about to hit that poo-tang and you just threw it down the well of souls, you fuck. And the Nazi's like, it is not important. Only our mission to the Führer is important. And he's like, oh, Marion, it was not meant to be. I don't know why he was Mexican in that, but whatever. Anyway, so they shut them in there in the tomb, and now Marion and Indiana are trapped down there. Saul is like crying as they shut it because he's like, "Fuck,
My friends are
doomed
and dead forever."
And so this is just another great action sequence where Indy catches Marion and she falls down into it's one thing she falls into the same thing Indy did when he first came down there. Falls, and a king cobra comes up right where she's at.
Yeah,
real snake again. Great shot. And
then they just eventually they figure out that the snakes are coming through the walls. There's holes in the walls, and Indy's like, "All right, I'm gonna get us out of here. I'm gonna crash this big old god statue into the wall, and then hopefully we can find a way out."
And that's what happens.
And they escape.
Right. And when they get out, they push out a brick, and they end up right where they're by this landing strip where there's this completely fictional plane. It looks fucking awesome. It's a cool looking plane. Just for the record, it's historically
can't fly.
It's historically not a real German
But
plane.
that's okay because this is a movie.
True, and it's fine. Like I said, though, it's just funny how they're like, take all these antennas down, but let's build this fucking plane that doesn't even
Random
exist.
plane that doesn't fly.
Which is fine. It's still a cool looking plane. It's a cool scene. Which goes into another action piece where it looks like they're trying to load this ark on this plane, and he's like, "We're going to be on that when they load it, and we're going to get the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
So next thing they do is they go over to hijack this plane, and a great fight sequence comes out there. There's this big, oily, bald, fucking Hulk Hogan motherfucker Nazi who's like wants to just throw down with Indy.
Yeah.
Because he sees Indy's up there like trying to get into the plane, and he's like, "Hey, come down here. Come down here.
Fight to me.
Yeah, come on, let's get it." And so it's just a great scene where he's just getting his ass kicked. Marion jumps in the plane to help Indy. Some more Germans show up in a truck. She fucking blows those motherfuckers up.
Video game setup.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then Indy's just getting his ass kicked by Baldy. Baldy's just fucking him up, dude. And it's another part that's like kind of pretty graphic in this movie where the propellers are going on this plane because it's getting ready to go. And Indy basically like tricks this big German into walking into the propeller, and it goes and cuts him up.
Yeah.
And the blood splatters on the side of the plane. And it's like, holy shit, man. It's like pretty graphic for a PG movie. But it's 1981, man. You can get away with a lot of shit.
Yeah, and Indy got his butt kicked.
Once again, another part where he's just getting his ass kicked.
Well, like the entire time, and like I'm thinking about it now, it's like Indy's like kind of flying by the seam of his pants, dude.
Yeah,
he has no plan. Yeah, he's just going. And it's another great thing about his character. Like he has no idea what he's doing.
Well, that's how I was like, "What's your plan?" I don't know. I'll think of something.
Exactly. He's just going with the flow. So something I didn't really think about.
That is a good point. I didn't think about that either.
But after the plane, it blows up. The Germans are freaking out.
Gasoline. They shoot like a truck that has gasoline that runs up to it, and then the fire hits it, starts to go up, and he has to get Marion out of there just in time as he's running away. It explodes. Another great practical effect. Fucking great.
Yeah, it looks really good.
We cut to the Germans and Belloc. I'm taking this hat off. It's getting hot in here, you guys. And they're like, see, obviously like, that explosion was fucking huge. Where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah, it's probably Indy.
Yeah, Indiana Jones. And
Jones.
Basically, like, well, we're gonna load this on our truck now.
Yeah.
And it's just great because once again, like, it's also like the way Ford Harrison plays the character is great because there's a part where they find Sala, and Sala's like, "Oh, my friends, I thought you were dead." And then he's like, where's the ark? And he's like, "They're loading it onto a truck for Cairo." And then he goes, "What truck?" Because he's just like, "Fuck, man." He's like,
I just blew up his
"Can I just
plane.
get this? Goddamn, can I get this?"
Yeah.
It's like when you're trying to get something done, dude, and shit just keeps
interfering.
Yeah, like this podcast. And so anyway, another classic moment, and they're like, "What?" He's like, "Hey, get us a boat." He tells Marion and Saul, "Sit tight, go get us a boat out of Cairo. I'm gonna go get the ark." And they're like, "What are you gonna do?" In classic Indy, I don't know. I'll think of something.
Yeah.
And his thinking of something, he steals this white horse and is riding on the road after the German convoy, and it's another great action sequence. And that's the thing about this movie; it's just sequence after sequence after sequence of action, and it keeps moving.
Yeah.
Once again, it doesn't feel like it feels like a long movie, but it's not.
Well, it's because the like amount of stuff that they cover,
distance that they go through,
and how far they go in the film, and it's
really well done, man.
Yeah.
So the car scene's great, man. A bunch of practical effects, right? He rides up on the horse, jumps onto the truck, gets up there, goes into a slugfest with the driver.
Well, this whole scene, like just like all the guys climbing out of the truck, getting kicked out of the truck, Indy taking over the truck, and then all the dudes in the back coming up and trying to get him out of the truck, and all of them falling. Like this whole part, like all these stuntmen, dude, it's so crazy, especially that very last Nazi in the truck. because it gets down to where there's one more guy, and he gets in the truck. He gets Indy out and gets him out on the front of the truck, and he's hanging on. And, I mean, this is all shot in camera. So, like, he's holding on, and he's trying to ram him into the back of Belloc's car, and he drops down. He uses his whip to hang on, and he's, like, literally getting pulled by the truck in the dirt. Like, that scene to shoot that, dude, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they spent a lot of time on that with the stunt guys and everything. And I'll go ahead.
Well, you go.
No, you're fine.
I don't know what I was going to say now.
You're good. No, well, so eventually he gets control of the truck. He runs Belloc and the other Nazi off the road, and Indy gets the Ark, and he gets away with it. Yeah. Takes it into some local small town where Saul must had some homies waiting to hide him when he pulls in, and they hide the Ark and get it, ready to rock. And from there, they get onto a boat, and this is where they say goodbye to Sala. And it's just another great scene where they say goodbye to Sala, and he has a great line where he's hanging on to Indy. He's like, goodbye. I'm already missing you. It's just classic. And Marion gives him a kiss, and then, he starts singing.
Yeah.
A British soul is a soaring soul.
Yeah.
It's just great. It's just a great character moment, and that's the end of Sala for this one.
Or introduced to the captain of the ship, too.
Katanga.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've heard a lot about you, Dr. Jones. And he's a black captain.
Yeah, and at this point, he's, like, looking at Indy, and he's like, you look exactly like they told me you'd look. And, like, Indy looks like crap. Because you got to remember, he fought big old German boy, and he beat the piss out of him at the plane. And then he got dragged through the dirt on the truck.
Literally.
He also was in that, in the tomb.
Yeah.
Trying to escape the entire
his
time.
Ass kicked.
Going through walls, and,
he's just tired, man.
He's beat down.
So they load the Ark onto this boat.
And that's another setup and payoff.
Yeah, it is. It is.
See, that's one I didn't even realize.
That's a good point. I didn't think about it either. Well, and this is the thing, too, with action movies. You got to have a moment where you can breathe, right? Like, you need to have these. I feel like I know that chick, but I guess I don't.
No.
I thought I did. I know a lot of people that come into this coffee shop because I worked here for a long time. And High Point's a great place, just for the record. Just throw a little ad for High Point. Go get some fucking High Point.
We're not sponsored by High Point.
We're not.
This room is free.
Steve and those guys don't want to sponsor us. I'm just kidding. No, we love Steve and those guys. They're awesome. We've done some work with High Point. We love them. But anyway, they're on the boat. And Marion's theme kicks in again, and Indy's just ragged. It's just like, imagine the longest work week you've ever had, 70 hours, you get home, and you're just like, fuck, man, I just want to sleep. And your wife wants to jump your bones. Well, that's Indy and Marion. And they're in there, and you finally get to see them. This is the conclusion of the friction in the conflict with them that's been building the entire movie finally.
Yeah.
Because you get the sense that these guys are exes, and they don't fucking like each other.
Yeah.
Well, Marion definitely doesn't. Not a big fan of Indy.
Yeah.
But by the end of this scene, they basically make up. She's kind of, rubbing his head and like mending his wounds, and there's a great line where she's trying to help him, and he's like, he's like, that hurts. And she hits him in the face with a mirror accidentally when she's trying to do stuff, and she goes, well, God damn it, Indy, where doesn't it hurt? And he goes, here. Points to his elbow, and she
like
kisses the elbow. Yeah, like a little kid. And he goes,
I have boo-boo
here. And she kisses him on the forehead. And then he points to his lip and goes, here. And then, once again, it's classic. He leads her into it. They have a kiss, and then she pulls back, and he's falling asleep.
He's out.
I've been that guy before, just for the record.
Indy out.
I was in a lot of trouble because she was all ready to go, and then she was like, what the fuck? But when you're that tired, been fighting Nazis for days and getting your ass kicked, you want to sleep, dude.
He ain't James Bond.
No.
This is Indiana Jones.
That's right. Fuck yeah. So anyway, it's just a great conclusion to like kind of their arc,
Yeah.
Because you can see that they finally have she's realized, I love you. I still love this guy.
Yeah.
And it's just great. It's just a great subplot. It adds to the characters and the dimensions to Marion and Indy. But of course, they're not out of the woods yet because the Nazis have a little thing called a U-boat.
Submarine.
Torpedoes.
Yeah, they stopped this boat.
They go, what the? They go, I don't think so.
No, we will blow your ship
boat
out
from
of
the water. So anyway, they show up, board the boat, fucking are looking for Indy. They find the Ark, throw it onto the U-boat, and take Marion again. Marion is captured again.
Once again.
And Belloc's like, finally, I have another chance to get my pee-pee sucked by ye.
By ye?
And
no.
And he's like, he even says, he's like, listen, he tells it because the Nazi's like, well, we don't need her. Like, we don't want her. Why are you taking her? And he's like, listen, if she does not satisfy me this time, I will be done with her. Which is basically like, you better fucking suck my dick, bitch, when we get on this on this submarine, or I'm throwing you overboard. That's straight up what he says. I'm sorry. I don't care what you guys
I'll
say.
launch you out of the torpedo.
You can be
bay.
as offended as you want of that, but that's just the reality of what's going on in this movie.
That's how men work.
Not all men, but a bunch of them.
The creep ones.
Yeah,
the
this guy,
creepos,
yeah.
Creepo French.
So anyway, they take him, they get it, and they're looking for Indy. And this is where some of the plot holes in this film that I never really thought about start to emerge.
Yeah,
and these are the things where it's like, you know,
there's
this is
a ton of
fucking
them.
great movie, but it's like at the end of the script, Chasm was just like, we got to fucking wrap this up, man. We don't have a lot of time. How do I get Indy to the end of this story?
Yeah.
And so he's hiding on the ship, right? They can't find him. Katanga says that he killed him. The captain of the ship says, hey, we killed him, and we were going to take Marion and sell her. And the Germans all leave. They get on the boat. They take the Ark. And they're like, I can't find Jones anywhere, Captain. I don't know why he sounds like a pirate, because he's not. But he's like, well, look again. And then he goes, I found him. And he's like, where? He's like, there. And then, like, Indy's on the side of the U-boat swimming. And it's a cool shot. It's a great shot.
He's waving to him, and he gets up on top.
And they're all cheering. They're
and
like,
Indy never gets in the boat, and this is another thing people are like,
now, maybe he does.
well, yeah, it doesn't
Maybe he does.
show
I
him.
don't know.
Yeah,
but once again, we shouldn't have to explain that, right?
Yeah.
So then we see the boat's journey to this island where they're taking the Ark. And we see the captain, when they pull into this little submarine base that's in the side of this rock formation of this island, and Indy sneaks off and bitch slaps a Nazi.
He gets his uniform.
Takes his uniform. We see Marion come off the boat. Belloc does not look like he's been sexually satisfied. He looks very
disappointed. Again.
And so obviously he didn't get no nookie. And we move on to Indy following these guys. They're taking, basically we hear Belloc talking to the German, hey, we need to go and do this ritual. And the German's like, I'm not comfortable with this Jewish ritual. And because once again, the Ark is it's an Israelite artifact.
Yeah.
Theologically, like that's where it fits. The Israelites had it. That's where the Ark came from. The ancient Jews used it. They carried the pieces of the Ten Commandments in it. So anyway, Bill said, let's do the ceremony just to make sure everything's in there. And so that's what they're doing on this island before they take it back to Berlin for Hitler.
Yeah, because they don't want to open it up and then nothing be in there and then Hitler being disappointed.
Right. So anyway, they're taking this thing, and Indy's kind of sneaking with them. Of course.
It's okay. I'll call him back.
He's following along with this caravan through this like desert gorge. It's like a desert island. And the cool thing, a little cool, interesting fact about this is this same gorge that they go and shoot this next scene in where they're carrying the Ark to where they're going to do this ceremony is the same location in, I want to say, Tunisia, where they shot R2-D2 getting picked up by the Jawas. Same canyon.
Oh, teeny.
Yeah. And this is another great scene. Like, Indy kind of gets up on this cliffside. He's got a fucking RPG, which they didn't have back at the time, but it's probably supposed to be like a Panzerfaust. An RPG is basically a rocket launcher, you guys. And he goes, hey, you better, let Marion go, and we'll get out of here. I don't know how the fuck he thinks he's going to get off this island.
Yeah, Indy is just saying, hey, I'm going to blow up the Ark. All I want is a girl at this point. I'm done.
Yeah, he's over it. He doesn't care anymore.
Yeah.
He just
like,
wants to
give me
go
the girl
home.
or I blow it up.
He's so tired. He's like, fuck this.
And then our boy...
And then Belloc has a great scene here, man, where he's like, because this is where he calls Indy's bluff, because this goes back to the setup that we had before, which is, you're like me, archaeology is your religion, like it's mine, and you will not hurt this because you want to see this opened as much as I want to see it opened, and you're just as bad as I am, which is once again a really great part too, because like he is when he leaves Marion in that tent earlier.
Exactly.
It's really
all the setups and payoffs.
It's really a great conflict. It's really great character develop. Like parts of showing who a character is the way other characters illuminate the character, the main character, because they reveal parts of different characters reveal different parts of the same character.
Yeah,
because a good character is multidimensional. He's not just one person, and that's one other thing that makes Indiana Jones. He's not just an action hero. He's a fucking. He's more than that. It's something I talked about with one of my buddies one night. I was like, Indiana Jones isn't just an action movie. It's deeper than that, and that's why it's not like an Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie or a Sylvester Stallone action movie. It's it's something else. It's something better than that. It's more of a classic than a regular action movie because of the multidimensionalness of the characters in these movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back on track here. So he's got the rocket launcher. He's like, I'm going to blow it up if you don't give me Marion, like Austin said. And, he calls his bluff. He grabs an MP40, a machine gun, pushes all the Germans aside and goes, stand away. He's like, fine, blow it up, Jones. Blow it back to God.
Yeah.
He's like...
Great line.
He's like, yeah, it's another great scene. He's like, He's like, Indiana. He's like, we are simply passing through history. This is history.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Indy goes, fuck, you're right.
Yeah.
I want to see this shit. And he puts down the RPG and gives in.
And gets
to his
tied up
darker
to a
side.
pole, baby.
Right. And this is where they finally have the Ark set up. They got them tied up on this thing. It looks like it's a transmitter, probably. They're going to because they have like a generator and they're recording this big ceremony
Yeah.
to document it. Belloc's dressed up as a rabbi or some shit. And we got all the baddies
kind of
up there
priest.
next to it. And Austin can take us from here because I've been talking long enough.
Well, from here, Belloc starts saying all these crazy words.
Probably in Hebrew.
Yeah, in Hebrew, like the ritual or whatever to open the ark. And then they open it, and it's just glowing, and it's pretty. And
No, time out. It's not. It's
What?
empty.
Well, yeah, no, he
And
puts
there's
his
no
hand
sand.
in. And
It's just sand.
yeah.
And the one German's like,
You didn't even let me get to it.
well, it isn't glowing yet. It doesn't start glowing till after that.
Oh.
Sorry, you guys. Go ahead,
I
Austin.
thought it was glowing the entire
No, it doesn't. Because
kinda
remember, he
glows.
picks it up and he's like,
Yeah.
fuck. And then the one starts laughing. Then it starts to glow.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Anyways, yeah, so the German guy's just laughing because, like, oh, there's nothing in this. You failed. You suck. And then what starts happening first is the lights start flickering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The generators
Generators start going. Yeah. Everything starts going haywire and everything starts to, like, is it getting, no, it starts, like, kicking out ghosts and stuff.
Not yet. The smoke starts to kind of come up.
All right.
And then,
You
want
run
me
it.
to-
You run it, yeah.
I'm sorry,
That's
man.
fine.
Sorry. But I guess I remember this part better than you.
Well, I'm just off my rocker, but
It's
go
all
ahead.
good. So anyway, so it starts to light up, and then all these ghosts start flying out, and there are these beautiful women, like specters, that are floating around, and he's like, it's beautiful. And you're like, all right. And then it turns into like fucking Friday the 13th, because all of a sudden, like, this beautiful, sexy Jewish ghost thing turns to like a fucking skull, and it's like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And it gets crazy. Like all of a sudden everything starts to blow up, lightning shoots out of the ark and like kills all the guys that are standing around it. And then a bunch of really retro special effects start happening where the one German's his face fucking melts off.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, dude, this shit was fucking scary.
It is pretty
I remember being
freaky,
like,
dude.
oh my God, this is terrifying.
Yeah.
I was like, this is Indiana Jones?
Well, yeah, he's like screaming, and his face just completely melts away, and it's like, and just showing his eyes.
Looking back at it now, I mean, it's
pretty
budget, but
yeah.
but it's still cool because like they did it for
For
real,
the
right?
time, it probably looked awesome.
The other German officer that's just been just a cheese dick the whole time. His face just sucks in and like blood comes out.
Yeah.
And then Belloc gets the best. You know, his head starts on fire, then his head just fucking explodes.
Boom.
Kind of like how he wanted his pee-pee to explode with Marion, but it never happened. And Indy's like, close your eyes, Marion, keep your eyes closed. And so they're spared by the power of the Ark. And when they open their eyes, their ropes are burned off. All the Nazis have been killed. And this is another one of those plot holes. Like, how the fuck did they get off the island? Because from here, we just jump to they're back in D.C.
The pirate came and picked them up.
I guess, man.
Maybe.
And that's probably the weaker part of the end of the movie, of the story wise.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, man. I'm not really sure like how you fill those gaps. Like I get they had to get from point A to point B really quick, but
Yeah.
unlike us on this review, which has been taking a long time.
Well, we really went in depth on this one. And it's because it's so good, though. There's so many setups and payoffs.
And it's a great movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like.
Let's wrap up. Let's
Yeah.
wrap up the story so then we can get into the rating.
'Kay.
Sorry, not to cut you off,
you're
but like
good.
you're right. We're kind of
wrap it up.
dragging here.
We're right at the end.
We're so close, you guys. So then they're in D.C. and they're talking to those same two guys before, and just some more classic lines. So they're like, "Well, we want to, study the Ark. You guys agreed that we could study it if we got it, right? Because they got it back to D.C.
Yeah.
Indy did, and it's him and Marcus and those two FBI guys, Department of Defense guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, who's working on it?" And they're like, "Top men." I guess being chodes.
Yeah.
And Indy, the meeting ends, and Indy's coming down the steps of the Capitol, and Marion's waiting for him, looking all hot again, big old 30 style hat on her head, and he's pissed. He's like, they don't know what they got there. Those fools, they're fools, bureaucratic fools. And she goes, well, I know what I got here, and like you can see that they're kind of a thing now, and she wants to buy him a drink, a drink,
Yeah, because she drinks
right?
a lot.
And
She's an alcoholic.
And then the Marion theme kicks back in, and they walk off. And then we see the Ark getting loaded into some random fucking warehouse,
Some
not to
dudes
be looked at by some old ass guy.
with tons of boxes and boxes and boxes.
And then it ends, and that's the end of the movie. And it's a fucking great movie.
Bum, ba-dum,
It's a great
bum.
ending.
Bum,
Dun, da-da. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
It's great, and that's how it wraps up.
Like, even with the plot holes, I don't. Yeah. It's so well done.
It's just funny to see that the plot holes come in there at the end like that. Because, I mean, because once again, it's not a very long movie.
Well, it makes sense why all that came in is because they were trying to rush and get this done
Tie it
as soon
off.
as possible. And that's why I'm like, for him to rush it and for it to turn out as good as it did,
Yeah, but in the writing process, that's where I'm curious. I'm curious
how
if there was other stuff they just didn't shoot.
probably
Or
they
how
probably
that-
had to adapt it.
But at the same time, in a story, everything was... The big thing in the last act of a film is you need to tie off all the loose ends. You need to have a resolution. They call it the resolution. The last 30 pages.
Yeah.
And everything was resolved by the end of that scene. I mean, all the bad guys who had been in the entire movie were all killed. They all were defeated.
Yeah.
The Ark was open. We got to see that it actually had supernatural powers. Indy and Marion had finally made peace with their relationship. Everything had been resolved. So to carry it on longer, showing them fight through the island to get home, it just didn't make any sense because as a story, it had reached its resolution.
Yeah, it was
Right?
done.
It wouldn't have made sense. It would have just been dragging on.
Yeah.
So if it was from that point that they made that decision, I can understand that, right?
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't make any sense. Who are the bad guys you're fighting? Just a bunch of random Nazis just to get out of there? Like it would have just been there to be there. It wouldn't have been there for any real reason.
Yeah.
Everything had been resolved, and it's a great movie, man.
Yeah.
So
Rate-
we're gonna rate this one where you've changed the system yet again. I'm sorry, you guys.
I think this is it, though. I think
this is the new way we're going to do it. So forget all the names we had for different things. We're going to do it out of a 10-point system. 10 hammers is the highest you can get. 1 hammer is the lowest, or no hammers. And we're going to do out of 10. So each category, same categories that we had before, and we're going to give it out of a 1 out of 10, 1 to 10 out of that rating system. Then we're going to divide it by the 4 categories, and that's going to give you your total number.
Yeah.
So let's give this one a try, and if this one makes more sense to you, all y'all who are listening to this podcast,
let us freaking know.
let us know, because you already told us that the last one didn't fucking make sense, and we're sorry.
This one should.
Math is not our strong suit. So I'm going to let you take us through, Austin.
Well, first category story.
I'm going to give it a 10, dude. I mean, it's a great story. We just spent so much time breaking it down. I mean, the 2 plot holes in the end,
Well, there's a
but they're not. But like that's the thing, is like I told you, like if the goal was to resolve the story in the final act, it's resolved.
no, yeah.
So it achieved what it needed to achieve.
No.
And I don't think it's so illogical that it ruins the movie for me.
I agree with you that it's a 10 for story. Like all those, like I'm just saying, like yeah, there are plot holes there. Yeah, there's like historical inaccuracies
Right.
there too, and like, but that stuff doesn't matter. Like the story as a whole, and the way Indiana Jones' character develops through the entire film, and how all the other characters play around him and build him up and make him such an interesting and awesome character. There's a reason why Indiana Jones has a ride at Disneyland. There's a reason why he's such an iconic character.
Right.
It's because the story was so well done.
Agreed.
It's
100%.
a perfect film. Even though there are problems with it, even though there's little spoofs and little things that happen.
Yeah.
That's besides the point. The film knocked it out of the park. Like you can see how much money they made back from it.
Well, and then it made 3 more movies.
That too.
I mean, it made 3, which made more money.
yeah.
You know, and this is a tough one too, I think, for story. I mean, for story, it's not a tough decision. It's a 10. I agree
No,
with
it's
you.
easy.
But I think what's interesting is, you know, you think about the other Indiana Jones movies, and we can get on a long tangent about those. But they just aren't as good. I mean, Crusade's one of my favorites, man.
Crusade is one of the best out of the other ones.
I mean, you're listening to two people who are Indiana Jones fanboys, right? So we do have some rose-tinted glasses on this one. But so does a fucking bunch of people in the world, because look at what a phenomenon it is.
yeah, it's
I
huge.
mean, I literally went to Petra, to a place where they shot Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade because of that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have gone anyway as a traveler, but like it's crazy the way movies can affect our lives and decisions of what we do that we never thought about.
Yeah.
Just because it was something you were raised on that you watched as a kid. And Indiana Jones is definitely one of those trilogies or series for me.
Yeah. I'd agree.
And he's a great character. Temple of Doom is rough.
There's great parts in it, but at the same time, the story just wasn't.
Well, maybe
as
when we
well
review
done.
that, we can go over that, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, Raiders has a special place
No, yeah,
in the history of film,
for sure.
and it's not just an action movie. That's the thing that I like. That I have to say about it. It's not just an action film.
No, it's
There's
not.
some serious. It's just a great movie. There's so much good stuff in it.
Yeah,
I agree. Story of 10.
yeah, easy. Cinematography for the time for. I mean, this is easy too. It's a 10, dude.
Yeah, I
like the
agree.
way that it's
The way it's
shot,
shot is
everything
good.
they did, like the glass with the Cobra, with them
Yeah.
driving on the trucks,
The
like the
lighting.
truck scene. Yeah, everything.
I agree.
Everything's
There's
solid.
some rough some of the special effects are dated, guys, for sure. Like, go into it knowing that, but they're small moments.
Yeah.
There's some cloud effects when they're getting into the tomb, when the bad guys die at the end, like, you know.
And there's the one part with the truck where it's like, you're
Well, you
in
don't
and
notice
out.
it, though. You don't
Yeah,
notice it, though.
it's so well cut, you don't notice
That's
it.
what I mean. Like, it's not even like, I mean, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I noticed that after watching it like
10
100 times.
Yeah.
So
So that,
yeah.
I'm just going to say the scene
Yeah.
really quick where Marion gets put in the truck and Indy shoots the guy and the driver. They're like, you can see if he keeps driving, they're in an alleyway and he's going to run into a wall, but then it just disappears and it's out in the open in
And
a
it
different
blows up.
spot completely and blows up. But the special effect for the truck blowing up was real. So
Right. The problem there
Yeah.
was obviously, I don't know what happened in the editing
They
room
probably
there.
had to- they
Maybe
probably
they
had
were
to-
missing a shot.
maybe, or they had to blow it up in a safe place
Yeah.
and they were rushing trying to
But
get
you
it
wouldn't
done.
notice that shit if you were watching it for the first time.
No.
And it's crazy that people haven't seen Indiana Jones, who haven't seen Raiders.
That is a crazy
It's crazy.
thing.
Like, there's people I've talked to, they're like, oh, I never saw that movie. And I'm like, are you
You're
fucking
crazy.
serious?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I mean. Like, go watch it, dude. It's a great movie. We watched it in my film class, and I think there's people who hadn't seen it even in my film class, and there were kids that, like, and girls in that class, girls and boys, that, like, I never would have thought would like that movie, but they loved it.
Yeah.
Because it's such a classic. Like, everyone was so entertained watching it who had never seen it before. You're talking 19-year-old kids in high school, 17-year-old kids in high school who'd rather be smoking pot and fucking wanking off, whatever they'd be doing, and they're entertained by this movie
Yeah.
that's from 1981. There's a reason why. It's 'cause
Yeah.
it's a fucking classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree. Cinematography 10.
Yeah. And the next one's an easy 10 too. It's music.
John Williams score, dude. I mean, it is. It's iconic, dude. I mean, the Indiana Jones theme. Even if you've never seen Indiana Jones, you know the music.
Oh yeah.
You know the song once it comes on.
Yeah.
So definitely 10. Plus all the other things that we were
All the-
talking about,
all the little
motifs
added-
and the
Basically giving a characters their own theme songs and helping them give them like their own atmosphere in the film.
Yeah.
So when you're watching it, like musically you can hear like, oh, like on a subconscious level, your brain's like, oh, this is Marion's scene.
Yeah.
Or they're talking about the Ark.
yes.
Or, Indiana Jones. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy how much of that shit goes into a movie.
No,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it adds.
It's nuts, dude. It's
Yeah.
really nuts. It's like people think, oh, I'll score a movie and just put music in it.
It's not as easy.
Luis Morales, our boy, our man who's just the music king for Refiner right now.
Yeah.
I know that hopefully we'll be doing some work together in the future, and you can throw down some John Williams type mini themes for all the characters.
Oh yeah.
And
for
maybe,
sure.
and you probably could respect, what we're saying too, as someone who does music. I mean, I don't know it as well as you do, right? I'm not a musician, but like I do. You can feel it, man. Like there's something there.
No, it matters.
And I wish we had
Yeah.
Luis here because we could even ask him about it, and I bet he'd have some interesting insights. It'd be kind of cool to do a podcast just with Luis going over great movie
Film.
scores.
Yeah.
And just going over movie music.
That'd be
We should
fun.
do that. That would be a good podcast.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Hey, yo, Luis, I know, hopefully you watch this one.
We shout
Shout out to you, bro.
dog.
We should be bringing you on the podcast and having a just a podcast about movie music because that'd be fucking a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would
and
be.
I think you'd bring some really cool insights to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, music 10.
Yeah, and then the last one
Acting.
is acting, and it's a 10. Everyone
is.
in this film is really well.
I agree.
It's not cheesy. Like it's all.
I mean, it has its
character-
moments, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's probably some cheesy parts in it, but like, no, it's great. It's well acted.
Yeah.
There's some great scenes, great lines.
Yeah.
I agree. And Harrison Ford's Harrison Ford. I mean, like, the funny thing with Harrison Ford is he hated playing Solo. He hated playing Han Solo by the end.
Yeah.
He wanted George Lucas to kill him off. He was so tired of it. That's how much he hated it.
Well, he got his wish.
Yeah, fucking 40 years later. But he loved Indiana Jones. I think he has said in interviews that this was his favorite role. And he's pretty protective of it. That's why, like, with the new one, he doesn't want to let anybody else be him. And it's because he kills it, man. And
Yeah.
Marion does a great job as an actress. Sala, I mean, you can't beat John Rhys Davies. It's an all-star cast.
Yeah.
So I think this is our first perfect score, guys. 10 out of 10 for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
10 hammers out of 10, which is our new rating system. We're going to stick with it.
And hopefully it makes freaking sense.
You let us know, you guys, that you're listening. Leave some comments on the YouTube and let us know if that makes sense to you. But yeah, I think
That's gonna be a wrap.
is that a wrap on this one?
I think so.
Well, thanks, you guys. This has been, God, like Indiana Jones' journey through the movie. Kind of a fucking obstacle after obstacle to get this podcast done, but we've made it. We appreciate you tuning in. And We'll be back next week with another film.
Yeah. Go watch Indiana Jones.
And Raiders of the Lost Ark. Go check it out, man. It's a great movie.
Yeah, you got to see it.
But until next time, this is Refiner Reviews. Cameron Smith.
Austin Smith.
Peace.